Chapter 9 Class Society, Values, Subjective, Objective Morality ***. The composer Joran was accused of being a communist. But why accusations and not praise? Wasn't it an honorable title? Communist, a man of the right values, justice, equal distribution, a classless society? Bitter voices repeat, we've tried it before, it doesn't work. Look at what it led to in Cuba, Cambodia, Mao's China, and not least the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc countries. Misery and decay. Why did it all turn out that way? And why does it seem that unfair market liberalism has such a revitalizing effect on national economies? What makes an unfair economic system so effective? What's going on here? Could it have something to do with fundamental evolution? Survival of the fittest, or more precisely, the most adaptable survive best, both in the short and long term. It's a shame that's the way it is. Joran wished things could be governed by qualified people at the top with great knowledge of economics and politics. That's why he couldn't wholeheartedly join the wave of atheism. At his place, people viewed nature as pure coincidence, and if God was some sort of overseer watching from the heavens. He was a poor one, allowing so much suffering and evil to unfold ceaselessly, day after day, year after year, for millions of years, without intervention. No clear direction or guiding hand from above. But precisely because of this lack of intervention, what must happen, does happen. The strongest help themselves to the spoils at the expense of the weaker. This has gone on for millions of years, and unfortunately, it works. The world moves on, the old collapses with time. There is always a new spring, a new bloom, and the cruelties continue. But it works. Aha! So here we have it. Planned economies and human-controlled political structures imposed on a population, on an entire country, don't work well, especially not in the long run. The unfair market materialism proves better suited for the long haul. But this leads to pure capitalism. And that's unhealthy in the long term. Yes, pure capitalism is like a parasite on a healthy body. It leads to overconsumption. Like the good worker who ends up drinking too much and loses both job and family. So, then we need regulations to avoid such tragedies. Now, we don't need regulations, we need knowledge. Nature is what it is. We just need to understand it better and become far more adaptable. Through this obviously rational approach, we can thrive and survive. Joran eventually realized this. But he also couldn't let go of his childhood faith. God was everywhere, he felt and believed, instilled in him by his mother and grandmother. His grandmother sang lullabies so heartbreakingly off-key, a kind of otherworldly atonality that actually sounded beautiful to the little boy. Joran liked his grandmother's atonality. And it inspired further study in the field, although he eventually strayed into a fair share of pure free tonality. That's how he met his composer friends, Walter and Freeman. They were free spirits in the sense that free tonality appealed to their lifestyle. They were far more liberal than Joran and had embraced the fundamental premises of atheism. These align well with the proven basic forces of evolution. Why resist this? Why construct systems based on utopia when utopia probably wouldn't come about as hoped? Joran was pulled in all directions, and his entire worldview was shaken to the core. But what about morality? Wasn't that the final straw to cling to in the battle against the free forces of nature and the market? And the free tonality in music? His strict, rule-based 12-tone music fit well with his communist and somewhat Christian convictions. Still, he was steamrolled by fallen theologians like the smart Dean. Read the whole Bible thoroughly, and the Quran too, and you'll find that the invisible man in the sky doesn't have particularly high moral standards. Both of these texts are completely useless when it comes to presenting any form of moral guidelines or principles. and certainly not what they call objective moral values, which they claim only God can possess. But what about Karl Marx? Juran followed the advice of the smart dean, who turned out to be a lapsed theologian and priest. But who kept the seemingly charming title of dean? Juran did as advised and spent about a year plowing through these human-made so-called holy books that have received far too much attention throughout history. He came out on the other side, convinced. We humans, at our core, practice *** subjective morality **. And that's what is natural. Altruism has given us an ethical framework from nature's side. This ethical framework gets muddled with God-given objective morality, but that's a dead end. That's why cultural relativism has its merits, especially in the realm of ethics. Therefore, it becomes an impossible task to shoehorn the morality question into zero.